Hey guys, welcome to the Money Tree. I'm David Holt.
And I'm David Marks.
We are the Dueling Daves
That's
once
right.
again, and
Here
hope
we
you're
are
having a
again.
great day. We've had an interesting time to get ready to film today.
We
haven't
have. We have. We've had a little bit of delay, which gave us an opportunity to talk things out, I guess, about everything going on in life right now.
You can tell he's a counselor drowning and stuff because he's
Yes.
just not his normal perky, giggly self today. What is up with that?
You
Did you not
know-
drink enough tea at lunch?
No, and I think I went through almost 2 pots of coffee today. You know, what's crazy is I get up about 5 to 5:15 every morning, and I got up this morning and I was in a great mood and I felt good, and you got to school and just by 9 o'clock it had beat the life out of me.
Yeah.
Yes, very big crash and burn.
Crash and burn. So, hey, we are here. We've got a great crowd today listening to our show about
That's right.
credit scores, and so we need to perk up a
Well,
little.
I'm always excited when we do these because it's kind of like if you know you're going to a restaurant and eating your favorite meal. You know, you anticipate that that's going to be good food and you kind of get excited about it. So when we're going to film this, I really get excited about it because A, I know that we'll probably laugh and have a good time, usually. And B, I feel like we serve the community by doing this show. And, that's the thing is that we want to help people out. And this is actually the second part of the first part of the show that we did when we talked about credit scores.
Credit scores.
Right.
So today, no matter what your credit score is, we hope to give you some tips to make that better and better and better.
Right, because the credit score that you have is going to be a massive impact on a lot of your life. And I even talked to some of my juniors and seniors today about their credit score and kind of gave them a tip on when they start getting ready to apply for student loans. And the example that I gave them is I said, guys, you don't realize what, like Northeast, is such a good deal sometimes if you have that opportunity, because if you go to Alabama or Auburn, you're looking at $26,000 a year compared to Northeast, it might be 5 or 6. It's a $20,000 difference. And I said, if your Pell Grant money for the year is $5,800, then you're looking at a $20,000 difference for 1 year. And
That's
I said,
true.
that's $80,000. And I said, where are you going to get that at? So
It's called borrow.
Yep.
Student debt is probably isn't that from one of our episodes? I remember that is a tremendous amount of money.
I believe it was something like $1.3 trillion.
I was going to say, I remember the $3
it's
trillion.
larger than credit card debt.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It really is. But before we do that, you've got a money fact.
Money fact for the week. I always try to find something interesting or something that's helpful. So this is kind of a
Wait, interesting and helpful? It's kind of like clean your plate, being a clean plate club?
maybe. I guess so. I try to find something interesting and helpful, Clean Plate Club. So this is what I found this week. When you hold money, which is made from...
Like paper money?
Well, a lot of people say paper, but you know what it's actually made from?
No.
Cotton.
Really?
That's why you can wash it and it doesn't fall apart. Because if it was made from paper, it would just fall to pieces. Anyway.
Do you ever wash money?
Oh, yeah, I have before. Just
Like
on
on
accident.
purpose?
Like have a 20 in my pocket, or probably been a 1, and leave it and forget about it.
Well, I hate when you get the brand new crisp bills. You can't get them apart,
Yeah.
Which doesn't happen very often, but usually they're ones.
Usually they're ones. Well, and the interesting fact about that is the life of a dollar bill. And not just a $1 bill, but the life of a bill in paper, money. The life of a $1 bill is going to be about 22 months.
Really?
22 months is the life expectancy, and I guess that's because they're so used and they change hands. And, of course, that's the ones we always put in machines. And I'm sure there's a lot of wear and tear on the dollar bill when you put it in a machine. A $5 bill was about 2 years, so it was a little bit longer.
Well, and the other thing, money is dirty.
Very dirty. If you handle money and then eat a cheeseburger and you didn't wash your hands, you're just taking a big risk there.
You really are. If you don't know what we're talking about, you should try rolling coins.
Yeah.
Because
Handles my
I mean, they're just filthy. I mean, do you still roll coins?
I do. My
Yeah.
dad really does.
Yeah.
My dad
But
does.
he cleans them.
He actually puts
Why don't
them
you
through.
share that?
He actually gets those coins and he will take it and put it in a. It's actually for like a brass cleaner for like spent ammunition, but he'll run them through that cleaner and there's different. I'm not real sure what it is he puts them in. But anyway, they will
I
come
thought
out.
it was like a like a nut.
It's like a walnut type shell,
Yeah,
crushed
yeah.
walnut shell, and he runs it through this machine that does that. And when he does, I mean, they'll look brand new. It's kind of crazy how he does that. But anyway,
How long does it take?
it's hours sometimes.
And like the dollars, you just wash them in the machine.
That's right. Well, the funny thing about that is that a 20 and a $100 bill, 20 is not going to be quite as long, but especially a 50 and a $100 bill, the lifespan is about 9 years.
Really?
So you go from 22 months
To 9
almost 2 years to 9, and that's because $100 bills are not going to be passed
True.
as much.
Because you don't have them. I don't have them. You get them?
Maybe.
Ooh.
I keep some saved.
Okay.
Because you never know. You know, I always think it's a good idea, if you can, to have 1 month's salary in cash tucked away safely. Not just in a bank. I'm talking about liquid cash money that you could access. For example, when we had the devastating storms come through a few years ago, you couldn't get to a bank. So
They
if
didn't
you,
have any power. You couldn't get any cash.
yeah, and if you need something immediately, then you've got a little cash there.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, I recommend don't put it in your mattress. Put it somewhere very safe, in a lockable gun safe or something where it's not going to be easily taken. That's always good advice. But you need to keep cash. All right, so all that being said, we're going to talk about credit score this week, and that was our fun money fact, and I hope that didn't go too long. So the first thing I want us to do is we're going to take some time today to talk to you about how you can better your credit score. We talked about the background of credit score last week. This week we're going to talk about how it impacts you specifically, and we have to thank our cameraman for one of our tips this week because he kicked in one of the tips.
He's a good guy.
You know, you're never too smart to learn, and you're never too
Old to teach.
Old to teach, I guess. That's not what I was going to say.
Oh, sorry.
I was going to say you're never too
I was
old
trying to make a joke
stop
to
learning.
my friend,
Right.
the camera guy.
I knew that. And,
I'm sorry.
You know, but he didn't throw anything at you, so that's good, right?
He did take a drink. I thought he was going to throw it at me.
That's funny.
That would be funny,
Snake
wouldn't it?
spit. Snake spit at you. Oh, so let's go ahead and look at our first slide. Looking at our first slide, we can see that there's two major, I put on there cool free credit apps. I guess that, you know, younger generation probably don't like that I use the word cool, but I'm a 90s kid, so I'm going to use that. The first one we see there is Credit Karma, and of course I've put the web address out there beside it. Now, I try to give examples of what these two apps do. I use Credit Karma. I've always had success with that. I like the way that it flows and it works. With Credit Karma, you get access to your credit score reports from TransUnion and Equifax. So it's going to give you the two, and it gives you weekly updates. Now, do you have to check it weekly? Not specifically, because typically they're updated monthly.
Mm-hmm.
They also use your data to analyze. Well, I couldn't get that out. That's what a long day of stress will do to you.
Too much coffee will do that.
Yeah, have the jitters. They analyze your credit profile, and they'll make a product recommendation for you. So let's say that you have a high revolving credit debt, which is a credit card debt, and your interest rate is high. They'll make a recommendation. Your credit score is this. This may be a specific card you can look to do a balance transfer. So they'll actually make recommendations for you. You know, and if you take one of those products they recommend, now a lot of times they'll say free, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Nothing's really free.
Right, exactly. Someone has to, because there's an app to use, that's data, there's people working on this. So the way that Credit Karma pays for their services is every time that you buy a service or you take a service they're recommending, that company pays Credit Karma.
Mm.
So that's how they pay for the service they offer you. It's a pretty ingenious idea if you think about it, because you're allowing to give a massive population of people services while advertising for businesses. You know, because most people have credit cards, even though, you know, we strongly recommend that you do not, except for emergencies. So that's a pretty smart idea, I think.
Ingenious.
It is ingenious. And it's always great to, you know, check your credit score. So number one, if you're not, you need to be doing that. And this is why we started off with the apps, and then we're going to kind of get into how to raise it in just a few
So
minutes.
you're saying check your credit score at least once a month.
At least once a month. Credit Karma, the second one, and again, I have to give credit to our cameraman who's celebrating right now, even though you guys can't see it.
The Rocky Balboa pose.
That's right. Adrian. So the app that he recommended was Credit Sesame, and I was really impressed with this when I looked it up online and did a little research. And again, if you're looking at the slide, you can see the web address there to sign up. David, you want to take the points to the Credit Sesame?
Well, you get graded on your credit factors, plus is a free to you, and I guess they get their money the same way. They
It's going to be something similar to that.
advertise. Understanding your best next steps with a free credit strategy, which is a good idea.
Right.
Everybody needs a strategy to try to get out of debt if that's your problem. And you know your best options on a credit card or a loan debt.
So they operate similar to Credit Karma, but they actually will grade you on your important credit factors. And on top of that, they will actually look at a strategy that you might take where Credit Karma is basically going to say, hey, you've got a high revolving debt. You need to look at this credit card. That's really what they're good for. It's very basic. It's for someone who really doesn't want to take the time to really analyze their credit to where, if you're in some pretty serious trouble, Credit Sesame may be a better application for you to use because it will start giving you good strategies that you can try to use. And, of course, we do that on the Money Tree also.
We do that on the Money Tree.
We take a lot of time to try to help you save money and find good strategies.
So this is what we're going to help you do, is to help you with your credit score to get better and get out of
Yes,
debt.
yes. And guys, remember, your credit is something that if you never need to borrow money, you may not feel like it impacts you. But how many people in the surrounding area that's watching us on mountainvalleynewspaper.com or on Farmers TV has never had to take a loan?
Not many.
Probably a small part of the
Not many.
population. So now let's talk about how you can raise your credit score. Now we've given you those 2 free apps that you can look at. Download one of those apps, sign up for that service. These are both trusted apps. It's something that you can trust. Now, once you do that and you look at your credit score, how can you improve your credit score?
All right.
All right, so let's go ahead and look at our second slide. Looking at our second slide, we have several factors here, and this is something that I tried. There is a plethora of information.
Wow, that word again.
Yes. I love using that word, plethora.
I'm impressed.
There is a mass quantity of information out there that you can find on how to raise your credit score. But what I try to do is chisel down to the very important factors. This is something that if you're coming up to bat in the first inning, that'll take you on through the 9th inning.
Okay.
Is that a good analogy?
That's a great analogy.
Can I use a baseball analogy? Okay. So the first thing we can see is you check your credit report and monitor your score. That's very important. And I know if you listen to any kind of radio program or anything like that, you're going to hear advertisements all the time for companies that will offer you, protection on your bank accounts and things like personal theft, stuff like that. Well, it is important that you check that because let's say that you get on one of these 2 apps that we have and you see, because it'll tell you why your credit score has fallen. So let's say that your score has fallen or it's increased, but if it's fallen because there have been too many inquiries into your credit score, all right, you may go back and check who's checking into your credit, and you may see some things on there that's not you. Well, right then you need to address that because identity theft does take place in this country.
Let me ask you a question. If you're checking your credit score on one of these apps monthly, is that going to affect your credit score because people are inquiring
No,
into
that
it?
is one thing about it. Using these apps will not affect your credit score.
Okay.
Okay. Typically, when you have a hard check on your credit is when you see this. And these are just more like a monitoring tool instead of a checking tool. And what I mean by that is when you go in and ask for a loan at a bank. Okay.
And they can tell you who's looking at your credit.
They will, yes. And because that's your information, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's how, you're able to do that. And, of course, you do have to go through a security setup process with both these apps. So the second thing, monitor monthly. Look for any discrepancies, as we just said. Always look to see, hey, there's a loan to a bank in Omaha, and I live in Rainsville. Well, unless you specifically took out a mortgage or something that might have been sold to that bank, you might want to do some checking.
Yeah.
There could be a guy
pretending to be you.
Right, and I'll use a great example with this. We know social media is rampant with this problem. So I'm running yesterday afternoon at Henniker Park, trying to get my exercise in, and I get a friend request from a Carlton Marks, which is my dad's name. And we're already friends on Facebook. So someone had actually taken his picture and created a profile with his name. And, of course, I reported it because I think that's what you do. And, of course, Facebook took it off. Actually, today it was gone. So you have to be very careful. Your identity can be stolen. So you need to monitor that. One of the big
We really can't have two Carlton Marxes.
No, trust me, that would be like having two David Marches. The world does not need that at all. So the next step that you can take after you check that credit report is you need to try to reduce the amount of debt you owe. This is probably the biggest factor of what really pulls people's credit score down is you need to try to pay off debt. And of course, that's one of the things we challenge you here on the Money Tree to do.
But the Sesame app, Credit Sesame, is give you some strategies.
It will give you strategies. Hey guys, we'll give you strategies. We've got all kind of resources on our website to do that. But the biggest tip that I can tell people is if you have a high credit card debt, especially if you have a credit card debt with a high interest rate, you need to know what your rate is. If your rate is 16%, you need to look to do a balance transfer to a card that will give you a 0% rate. And here's my advice to this. Okay, this is someone who has credit card debt, let's say of $5,000, and they're paying 16% interest. You're killing yourself in interest. Number one, you're making that minimum payment, and all you're paying off is your interest, and your balance never goes down. Transfer that to a 0% card, and put that card in the freezer. Cut it up when you get it if you have to. And pay. If you run out of the 12 months or the 18 months that they give you with that 0% rate, after you reach that limit, guess what you need to do?
Transfer it.
Transfer it to another one until you pay that card off. That's the fastest way and the best way outside of, inheriting money or working another job to pay that debt off. Get that interest off of you because...
Or making money in the stock market with our quick fix.
Yeah, it hasn't. Today was better. Last week, not so much. North Korea kind of threw a monkey wrench into that. So find those credit cards with a 0% balance, transfer those. Next, tackle your low balances to eliminate that first if you can. Or another good strategy is find the ones with the highest interest rate and get those off of you. Because if you've got a balance of, say, $2,000 and that's something you could knock out pretty quick, knock that baby out because when you pay that off, of course, it will increase your credit score. Or, like we said, if you have one, a payday loan type deal with a high interest rate, you've got to get that off of you because that's going to kill your credit score because they're charging like 20% interest, and that's hurtful. All right, the next thing we can do...
Let me go back to one more thing.
Sure.
You were saying to transfer your credit card debt to a card that offers 0%, and you said they do that for about 12 months?
It depends on your credit score. I know that sounds kind of crazy, but... It depends on your credit score and what you can actually apply for. The most I've seen when I've looked on Credit Karma, like I looked a couple of days ago, and the longest term I found was a 0% transfer, 0% interest rate for 24 months. So that seemed like a long amount of time, but that's because your debt, A, is not that much, and B, your credit score is really good.
So just remember, look into it from Credit Sesame or Credit Karma, either one.
So now let's look at, if we can go back to our slide, this contributes to 35% of your FICO score. So this goes back to 35% of your score, if we can look at that. Number one, pay your bill on time. If you miss 1 day late, that can drop your credit score. 1 day. So when you think, I can put it off, or I won't sign the check, it hurts you guys. You've got to do that.
Our camera guy goes,
yes.
It's going to kill you.
You've got to pay that bill on time.
And you avoid the late fee.
Right. If the bill's due on the 1st, make sure you mail it by like the 25th. Try to mail that in early. I always think that's a good idea. And don't think, I've got a grace period. Well, a grace period is what gets a lot of people in trouble. Okay. Secondly, if you have missed a payment, you've got to get current and stay current. So one of the ways to improve your score is catch up with your payments and then stay on track, going back to if you're 1 day late. Okay, that can hurt you. Now, if you pay off an amount, if you pay off a loan, don't think that that's just going to automatically vanish. If you check your credit, you may see credit cards on there from 5 years ago that have a 0% balance. That's because most accounts stay on your credit history for 7 years.
Wow.
7 years. So there is a long process. Before you walk into that bank and you take out a loan, you better think this is at least going to ride with me for 7 years after I pay it off. So makes a difference. Credit cards, of course, will stay with you for a long time. They're almost like a cavity that if you don't treat it right or you don't go see your dentist, then after time it'll just get worse and worse until you have to have a root canal.
And those are no fun.
No, they're not. So if you're having trouble making ends meet, the biggest thing that I can tell you is contact your creditors and see what you can do. Now, There are a lot of services that'll say, call us, we'll take $35,000 credit card debt and you'll only pay $7,000. Well, what they don't tell you in those is a lot of times they freeze your credit. That causes a negative impact. It can be treated almost like a bankruptcy, which is where you have absolutely just the lowest credit you can have. Nobody wants to give you money. And on top of that, if you don't, then don't just think that it's out of sight, out of mind. You have to contact a credit counselor. Talk to someone who could help you. There are all kind of great programs out there. There's great services where people will help you with that, but they're not just a payoff type deal.
Right.
Be smart about it. Don't just be out of sight, out of mind. And know your best options. You just got to do that. Apply for a new credit account only as you need it. So if you are going to the bank and if you have the money in savings to pay for something, I would recommend either not buying the item, or paying for it out of your savings.
Well, and it just reminds you how much something's costing.
Yes.
I try to use more cash than credit
Because it's
or
a
writing
reminder.
a check. It just reminds you that your money is just whoosh out the door.
Right.
Once you break a 20, it's gone, or you
Yes.
break a 50 or 100, whatever you may have. I mean, it just vanishes into thin air.
And again, we're trying to give you good advice to help you improve your credit score. It would be fun to come on here and say, you know what, spend all your money, spend every bit of it. You know what, spend more money than you make, which is what most Americans do. So that would be fun, of course, and we think that would sound awesome, but that's also what gets us in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And, we have to learn to live within our means, and we also have to learn to protect what is ours, which is also tied to your Social Security number, which is your credit score. So, guys, be sure that if you have high interest credit cards, transfer those babies out and start knocking those down. And like I said, put them in a freezer. I think you recommended that one time. Cut them up.
Put them in a glass jar or some plastic container, put it right in the middle, freeze it, because, you have to think long and hard. Do I want to really defrost this? Do I really want to thaw it out and use it for this particular thing? And lots of times you can just do the number on the back and submit it online. That's even quicker, which we're really trying to keep you from doing that. Mm-hmm. So don't forget, it's creditkarma.com and creditsesame.com. Free apps. We're trying to help you look at your credit score at least monthly.
Yes.
Transfer those high credit card debts into a 0% credit card. And as David was saying, he was looking the other day, you can go up to 20, depends on your credit score and how much debt you have, how long they will let you transfer them.
Yeah, 24 months was, I think, the longest one I saw at 0%, but that's because you have an excellent credit score.
And pay your debts on time.
Yes, make sure you mail those bills in. So, now that we've got that taken care of, can we go ahead and get into a little bit of what's going on with our stock picks?
Yes, I think we got a little extra time, so let's do that.
Okay, we have, I think, roughly about 8 minutes left, and I wanted to take a few minutes to go over a few things with everyone, okay? Number one, if you've picked some of our picks in the last few weeks, you might not have done so well. And this is a good lesson in the stock market. Because, number one, there are times when you're going to buy and you're going to hit a home run. And we try to find those companies that are at a good buying stage. Okay, they have good numbers. But remember, just because the analytics looks good on a stock doesn't always mean that it is. Mm-hmm. Right? So, if you've bought some of our recommendations and you haven't done well, here's some advice I want to give you. Stay the course. Stay the course. Stay patient, because remember, the stock market is something that you are looking long-term into. Now, of course, it's great when we have short-term gains, and that's where
throw parties.
That's right. That's where Robinhood is great, because if having those 0% commission fees, if you do make a quick gain out of it, you can sell it right then, and it's not being a heavy hitter on the commissions you're paying. But if you have taken a loss, and I promise you that I have, you still stay the course. You stay the course. One of the stocks that I have recommended maybe a few weeks ago has really, really struggled, because when they gave their earnings at the 1st of August, they had not met the earnings they were expected. It was actually much lower. And so this is a good dividend-paying stock. It tremendously dropped. I had a large shareholder in this stock, like almost 200 shares in this company. So I'm showing a very, very low return on it right now. Now, of course, since I'm at that point, what am I doing now?
I don't know. What are
I'm
you-
buying more.
You are.
I'm buying more. The reason why, the dividend rate did not change, which tells me the company is still sound. And this is a lot of financial.
So again, you buy low, you sell high.
Right. Well, and a lot of stock analysts call this type of stock that I've given you, there's two of them that I've given you that have both struggled here lately. They call them cockroach stocks. Now, I know that you may think
That's a negative connotation.
You may think.
Okay.
But the reason why they call them cockroach stocks is because they say that they can survive anything except for a nuclear blast.
Oh my! Well, that's being talked about today
Right.
in the news.
So that being said, they're saying these stocks, while they may take their dives in their low periods, they will survive and they will eventually thrive again. And a lot of these stocks are mortgage companies that do short-term lending, which did not produce good gains because bank rates have just not increased like they thought they would.
Right.
So if bank rates continue to or could start to increase, guess what these stocks will do?
Go up.
They'll
and
go
down.
up, and that's when you'd want to get rid of them. And that's why you buy right now. So I look at that as you're still getting the dividends, and you're still going to be able to produce gains. It may be 2 years on one of them.
Some people are not that patient.
I'm not,
But
they're
the stock
not.
market's not for them.
That's right. Or they need to, I don't know, maybe they just need to look at doing something else with their money instead of stock market, not gambling, but, something else. So let's go ahead and look at our picks. I just wanted to give that disclaimer because I wanted to explain, and just like you said with the nuclear threats from North Korea, it just caused our market to take a nosedive because that's uncertainty. And the economy does not like uncertainty.
That's right.
So let's go ahead and look at our third slide, which is our weekly stock picks. First company we have is Orchard Island Capital. I know this has been a long runner on here. It still offers their 15% monthly dividend. It's still a buy from $9.35 to $9.50. I think it closed higher than that today. It's starting to recover the losses, and the way I look at it, last month, it paid me more than the value of the stock in the amount of shares that I owned.
Wow.
So, owning that stock and owning a good bit of shares of it can pay you because it pays you monthly. And I know I have some higher price stocks. I think you said something to me about that.
Yeah.
But here's why. We're working you guys up. So once you get so much in your account, we want you to start looking at different options, which is what we're trying to help you do.
Diversify.
Hey,
that's one
you
right
did
right
good.
there.
Diversity. You did very good. The next company I give is IBM.
That's an old company.
It is an old company. I think it's a buy from 138 to 142, even lower than that. I would still say it's a buy. They offer a 3% quarterly dividend and has a PE ratio of 12. So I know that looks a little low, but I think that's because in time, this is like a year buy. You could see some good gains out of that. The next one, of course, being Intel. Same thing. Technology company. They make chips and processors. Has a PE ratio of 13.739 and offers a 3% dividend. Very similar. One's a high-priced, one's a lower-priced tech stock. Something to look at. The next one is Team. It's TISI. It's a buy at 1050 to 1075. Now, here's why I put this one on there. It is down 66% for the year, but their company is not in financial trouble. They still have plenty of liquid cash to go around. They're not in bankruptcy trouble or anything like that. So I think with that kind of a drop, you could see a moderate to a strong gain within time. When it recovers. Okay. And our penny pick. Trilogy Metals.
Trilogy Metals.
Metals.
TMQ.
TMQ is the symbol, and it's a buy from $1 to $1.10. Now, this is a mineral exploration company, and so far it's up 109% for the year.
Wow.
It's a fairly new, which means it was an IPO not long ago, fairly new stock to buy.
Okay.
So I would recommend this if you got a few bucks to put at it. If it drops down to 90 cents, buy it. See what happens.
Buy more.
Buy more. That's right. Because you can take that money, and if you buy it at 90 cents and it goes up to $1.50 and you've had that 60 cents gain, you're doing pretty well.
Yeah.
So that gives you an idea there. Okay.
So we have been talking about stock markets with the Robinhood app, and we are tickled to death that you guys have been listening to us. David, it's been a stressful week for both of us.
It has been.
I will say the weekend was nice. Your weekend good?
It was.
You was at church, which I guess
Yes,
you need to be there.
I actually do the live streaming for our church. I have a group of guys that work with me, and we had a revival youth night Friday night, and then a revival service Saturday night, and we did the live streaming for that, and then of course we had the Sunday morning services. So
that's good.
Keeps me busy.
We spent the day on the lake. jet skis and pontoon boats and
Sunburn.
and
David's arms
peeling.
feeling, as you can see.
So yeah, thanks for calling attention to that. I've washed the flakes away
That's
here.
right.
But we do appreciate you guys listening. Coming up, hopefully in the next episode, we're going to have some visitors to
We're
come.
going to have some young guys come on here and talk about being a working student athlete. And I want to make sure that we take the time to thank mountainvalleynewspaper.com. They do a great job with this. They always work with us, and Farmers TV.
Yes, on Channel 6. Now, we're moving to a new time coming up in football season to Friday night.
We'll be on Friday night,
if
too.
we're not on Thursday night, we should be on Friday night. Not sure when that change is going to happen because we're getting close to football season.
Sure.
And we are out of time. We're going to have to
gotta
go.
go. Wow. Okay. Remember, you can find us on moneytreetv.org, facebook.com/moneytreetv. And remember, guys, that you cannot have financial peace without first knowing. Can I start that over?
Mm-hmm.
You cannot see. I should dry mouth. You cannot have financial peace without first knowing the Prince of Peace.
We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.